Hello everybody. In this video we are going to learn about classification of sedimentary rocks. So again, this is something that you have seen before. We have siliciclastic, biochemical, and chemical sedimentary rocks. And for the next several slides, we are going to focus more on siliciclastic before talking about biochemical and chemical sedimentary rocks. So for siliciclastic sedimentary rocks, we use the Wentworth scale that we have already seen before. I do not need you to memorize this number, but you at least need to know the main groups of sedimentary rocks based on the grain size. So for example, here's this little box right here. This yellow box indicate coarse grain rocks consisting of either conglomerate or breccia. The next one is we have sandstone that represents medium grain rocks. And then the last one, we have siltstone, shale, and mudstone, and they all represent fine grain sedimentary rocks. So let's take a look at the coarse grain rocks, conglomerate versus breccia. So what is the main difference between the two? First of all, conglomerate, as we already know, it consists of coarse fragments of rocks, and those fragments are rounded rock fragments. So for example, here we have some pebbles, rounded pebbles. Here we have another rounded pebbles, and rounded pebbles. So whenever we have rounded fragments of rocks that have been cemented together, that is what we call as conglomerate. And conglomerate actually tells us that the environment would be moving water such as river or streams. They typically have a lot of rounded sediments within the river. All right, the next one is breccia. Breccia is also the same with conglomerate. It has coarse sediments, but the difference here is that it has angular fragments instead of rounded. Okay, so for example, here we have some rounded, I'm sorry, not rounded, angular, very angular sediments here. All right, so when they become rocks, it could probably do something like this. It could produce this type of rock here. As you can see here, this person right here that sits next to this very angular rock fragments. So therefore, this rock is called breccia. So again, the difference between conglomerate and breccia is the angularity of the rock fragments. Angular rock fragments belong to breccia, whereas conglomerate typically consists of rounded rock fragments. The next one is medium grain rocks, and the example would be sandstone. This is a type of rock that consists of particles that are mostly sand size. Okay, and those particles are mostly quartz. And the last group is called fine grain rocks, and we have three types of rocks here. We have siltstone, mudstone, and shale. Again, all of these three type of rocks, they consist of fine clastics. Silt-sized sediments will form siltstone. Clay-sized particles will form mudstone or shale. This is what mud looks like on modern day, and this is how it looks like after it undergoes lithification. All right, for the next several slides, we are going to talk about biochemical and chemical sedimentary rocks. In fact, we're going to start with chemical sedimentary rocks first. Here are some examples of it, and we're going to learn about limestone, evaporites, and coal in this video. So for limestone, it is a type of sedimentary rock that is made of calcite. Okay, so calcite or limestone, limestone is the most common chemical sedimentary rocks on Earth. Okay, and it precipitates from water solution, and in this case is the ocean. Okay, ocean. because there are many dissolved ions that have been transported into the oceans, and when the ocean is saturated with these ions, with the help some organisms as well, this process could um, you know, support the development of limestone or the formation of limestone. Okay. Limestone, again, it forms in warm ocean water, generally between 30 degree north and 30 degrees south. So it's around the equatorial region of the earth. So limestone, typically they cannot form, in high latitude regions. The reason for that is because limestone formation, they typically involve some organisms that usually live in shallow water, and they need some warm environment in order to live. Okay, so again, limestone, they form in warm ocean water, generally between 30 degree north and 30 degrees south, cannot have a lot of clastic input into the basin. Okay, and it happens or it forms typically in shallow water in the photic zone. This is an example of modern day limestone. Okay, reefs is an example of a limestone, and this is modern day example, and this is the ancient reef that we have in rocks. Okay, and if you are into fossils, you will love limestones, because limestones are, they're typically associated with lots of different types of fossils. The next type of rock is called evaporites, and the example would be halite or gypsum. Okay, these type of rocks, they form due to the evaporation of seawater, and several minerals and rocks that can be found, such as halite and gypsum or kernelite, and there are many more examples of evaporites in nature. But halite and gypsum are the two most common types of evaporites. So in the past, there are many geological basins that have been evaporated. Okay, and when they evaporate, they actually leave a lot of sediments and a lot of deposits of salt behind. Okay, and eventually create a very thick rock salt or evaporite deposits. And the last type of sedimentary rocks that we're going to discuss in this video is coal. So coals are rocks that form due to the compressed and highly altered plant remains. And the environment that would create coals are typically this environment. Okay, coal, they like to form in swamps or bogs where the water lacks oxygen. Okay, this condition actually helps the organic matter to accumulate faster than it decomposes. Okay, so therefore you will end up with a very high organic matter within the deposition in swamps. Okay, so these are the examples of coal. We have peat, lignite, bituminous, anthracite. Peat actually looks like soil, really, with some high organic matter content in it. Okay, the process of creating lignite, bituminous, and anthracite from peat involves pressure through burial. It also involves increase in temperature as well as time. Okay, so lignite looks something like this: bituminous or subbituminous, and anthracite. So therefore, it indicates the maturity of the coal. Okay, so anthracite is the most mature type of coal, whereas peat is the least mature type of coal. Okay. So those are the things that I would like to discuss about classification of sedimentary rocks. And as usual, if you do have questions, let me know. And I'll see you again in the next module. Bye bye now.